Hey, this is the seven consciousnesses. So the very first one we're going to go over is not sensation, but security consciousness. So security consciousness is when we are overflowed with the irrational fear of mortal danger. Therefore, we feel anxiety, confusion, worry. As a result, we may cry, shut ourselves from the outside world, feel self-hate, and loss of control of ourselves, our future, and our mental well-being. This is a picture of Jenna Marbles' infamous video when she decided she was quitting YouTube due to the amount of hate she was getting online. She was very hard on herself in this video as she was crying, she was going through a breakdown, and therefore she wasn't security conscious when she made this video. Now onto the next slide, which is about uh, sensation consciousness. This consciousness is when we let our emotions take the driver's seat, we act based on our raw emotions. We may feel disappointed, boredom, pleasure, disgust, nervous, and lust. Now, the difference between feeling emotions and sensation consciousness and other consciousnesses is due to the fact that when we are in sensation consciousness, we let these emotions take the driver's seat. We go, we we are operating simply based off these emotions rather than paying attention to more logical decisions and logical thoughts. Mia Wallace from Pulp Fiction, one of my favorite movies, is a great example of this. When she decides to steal cocaine from her bodyguard at the time and sniff it, not knowing how much cocaine uh, she was actually doing, as she was already high on cocaine, and not knowing what amount she was actually going to, or what amount or what the cocaine was, and therefore overdoses as a result. This is a great example of sensation consciousness and the tragedies it may actually cause, as Miwa's literally risked her entire life just to get a cheap thrill for one night. Now on to the third level of a third center of unhappiness, which is power consciousness. So power consciousness is when one surrenders to their need for self-confirmation and desire for power and control of their life. One may feel anger, frustration, argumentative, controlling, superior to others, or in hyperfocus. Usually one is preoccupied with being right and demanding power and respect. Now, this picture is a Reddit thread, which I think is a great example of power consciousness, as these two people are arguing for what seems to be little to no reason and are personally attacking each other for little to no reason, except for what seems to be a sense of control and superiority over others. Now, onto love consciousness, the fourth consciousness, and the one right out of the three centers of unhappiness. So, love consciousness is when one is in a state of self love, they are truly at peace with themselves, may feel joy, happiness, and self acceptance for who they are. So, I think this quote is a great example of love consciousness due to the fact that it really sums up what I think is important about love, is that not loving someone for who they were in the past, who they were in the future, but consistently loving yourself for who you are in the moment, for the moment is what we have, or only at this time. Therefore, I think this quote is a great example of love consciousness. Now, on to the sixth level, or fifth level of consciousness, cornucopia consciousness. So, this consciousness is when someone feels they have an overabundance of happiness and love. They may feel a true connection with others and are often very happy. They are laughing very, very hard and overall very accepting of others. And at the moment, they are not thinking about all the other horrible things in their life. They're simply in the moment at this time and are truly happy. So this picture is actually a series I found online from some of my favorite YouTubers, and this series is something that has made me laugh super hard. I haven't laughed this hard in a long time, and simply just seeing all these friends get together and just have a great time. It was just I just really thought this was cornucopia consciousness. I really thought it was a great example of it. Now on to the sixth center, or the seventh, the sixth center of consciousness, self-aware consciousness. So self-aware consciousness is when one begins to see themselves as a side character rather than the protagonist of their story. They begin to see life as a third point of view and become and content with what they have, whether they're rich or poor. And this picture is an example of the fisher and the fisher and the businessman story that Mr. Lamb talked about before, about how the businessman offered tons of ways for the fisher to earn large sums of money, but the fisherman, despite only having the bare bones needs to survive, uh, was content for where he was and what he was doing. Therefore, he was definitely in self-aware consciousness. Now, onto the final level of consciousness, and the most mysterious one, cosmic consciousness. So, when one truly feels connected to the universe, they have reached what many call enlightenment. Only a couple of people known in history have reached cosmic consciousness, so it's hard to know how exactly it feels to be in that center. And even if we were able to understand what it feels like, considering how rare it is for people to be in cosmic consciousness. So this picture, I just thought of a fun example of what cosmic consciousness is like in the form of Goku's Ultra Instinct. As for those who don't know what Ultra Instinct is exactly, it just makes someone feel so strong and so fast to the point it's like they're a god or they're in another level. And I think Ultra Instinct Goku is a great example of cosmic consciousness, also due to the fact that he was only able to awaken uh, Ultra Instinct through the Spirit Bomb, which we've seen to be an example of cosmic consciousness and is like the sum of all the power in Earth. And I think it's just sort of symbolic in the way that Goku awakened from a Spirit Bomb and got Ultra Instincts. Therefore, cosmic consciousness, I think, perfectly suits this picture. And thank you for listening to uh my project. We must always remember that the seven consciousness may not work out for everyone, but we are all different, and therefore what works for some may not work for others. It is what we true is it is the way that we wish to love ourselves is what's important. And the fact that we do have found our way. And therefore love yourself for who you are. Thank you for listening to my project. Peace.